How to lose $100,000 stock market trading. Moi, I did this. I lost $100,000 in 1 year. In 1 year, in the year 2015, I lost $100,000 in the stock market. I'm going to explain to you guys exactly, step by step, exactly how this happened. And this is a story I've shared once or twice in the history of this channel before. And, you know, so some people may say, why are you sharing this again when you shared it in the past? Some of my loyal subscribers that have been here for a long, long time. Well, since that time, the channel's gotten millions upon millions of new views. We've gotten, you know, 50,000, 75,000 new subscribers since the last time I shared this story. So I think it's really important because it's a story of greed. It's a story of losing confidence. It's a story of going so far off the rails, so far the other way and things like that. Like, I have to share this. And I feel like I'm fighting the good fight. I feel like I'm the only one talking about this. How come everybody acts like everybody in the financial landscape acts like they never took a loss before, like they've never made a mistake? And so I either look at this three ways. Well, one, you could just be a perfect little angel. You never ever make a mistake. You never have gotten caught into anything bad. Maybe that's possible. Maybe you're a little perfect angel. Okay. The other thing is maybe there's something you're hiding. Maybe you have made mistakes. You just choose not to talk about it because you think you'll like lose credibility or something like that. So maybe you choose not to talk about it. Or maybe you're just so young that you haven't even been in the game long enough. You just talk about this stuff, but you haven't really made any mistakes yet, which could be the third way. But you know, we got to kind of discuss that for a second. Like why do people never share this stuff? Have they never made a mistake? Or are they hiding things? Or are they just too young to have made a mistake? Well, made a big mistake. In 2015, I lost 75K of my own money. Okay, I lost 25K of my wife's money. So we lost $100,000 in total in 1 year. In 1 year, in a 12-month span. $100,000 loss. How did this happen? And for someone that had done so well in the stock market for so long, how did all of a sudden I go so far off the rails? I'd been looking into the stock market in 2008. I got into the markets in 2009. I'd done phenomenal every single year. And all of a sudden 2015 comes and I lose $100,000. Like, it would have been crazy if I just happened to not make any money that year based upon how well I did up to that time. But to lose $100,000, like this doesn't even make sense. How in the world did this all go down and how did it go so far gone? Well, step number one to losing $100,000 in a year. Well, we can say step number one, which we won't count as step number one, but you got to have a good sum of money to even lose $100,000, right? You can't just like magically have no money and then lose $100,000, right? You got to have some money. So we had money because I'm a saver and I'm an investor. I've done phenomenal in the markets year after year, following a long-term type holding philosophy, which I've shared on this channel many times. I have courses on it, books on it, all that type of stuff, looking at a company's balance sheet, holding them for anywhere between 1 and 5 years, you know, kind of viewing that type of process, taking good profits when I get them, things like that. So I have this philosophy, build up money, I have money. So step number one you need to do after you have the money is you need to quit your job, okay? You need to quit your job. This is what I did. I quit my job at Quick Trip, which I was working at that time out in the Carolinas. If you guys know anything about my story, I started with Quick Trip as an overnight manager out in the Arizona division. I did well with the company, got promoted. I did well enough where they thought I could move out to the Carolinas to expand that division and teach people and train people and all these kinds of things. So I moved out there doing very well for myself. I quit my job. We had our first son. I was just kind of done with Quick Trip and I wanted to enjoy like my son's first year of life, okay? Now, the way this was a bad decision is I quit my job, which was my only income source. This is way before any Jeremy you see today with all these different income sources and things I got now, right? Back then I had one income source, okay? That's another reason why I tell you guys you need to have, you know, 2, 3 income sources doing things online, whatnot. But back then I had one income source. I quit my job, didn't have any income source, meaning I was living off savings. But that's okay because our expenses were low. I had, you know, a lot of money saved away and my wife as well. We'd done well in the markets and I thought I could keep doing this well. Well, the problem was I quit the job. And all of a sudden, when you quit a job, all of a sudden you have a lot of time on your hands. You have a lot of time. Think about it. I was spending 48 to 50 hours a week working at Quick Trip as a manager, okay? I was spending massive amounts of time in the stores. I mean, at least 50 hours a week, right? So I'm spending all this time. Now all of a sudden, I got all that time free, an extra 50 hours a week, right? And all of a sudden, I'm starting to like think like a lot more. I have all this extra time where I can just think and think and think. And all of a sudden I'm starting to like second guess myself. Oh man, maybe I didn't make the right decision here. Maybe if I get such and such amount of return, maybe that's not going to be enough. Maybe there's a way I can amp up my returns or something. And I start kind of thinking about all this, and I start kind of like, I wouldn't call it panicking, but all of a sudden I would start like having thoughts every day like, man, am I really doing the right thing? And then I would have all this free time like, maybe I should be trading more often. Maybe I can trade more often and things like that, okay? So what my brilliant, horrible idea is I ended up doing something I knew to never ever do. I knew to never ever do this, and I did it. And what I did is I opened up what's called a margin account, okay? A margin account, so basically I could invest money that wasn't even mine. So basically if I had $1 in my account, I could invest an extra $1, okay? So you're basically taking out debt, okay? You're taking out debt to invest more money. So let's say you've got an account with $200,000. Hypothetically, all of a sudden you can invest an extra $200,000, and all of a sudden now you have $400,000 in the market, okay? Now this can work phenomenally if every single stock in the short term goes the exact way you need it to go, okay? But keep in mind, what am I? I'm a longer term investor. The stocks I go into, a lot of times in the short term, they go down. Like 50% of the time, in the short term at least, stocks I go into, they actually go down. Where I make my money is that I buy even more shares when they go down. And then over the long term, as long as I made a good decision in that company, they go up, and 95+% of the time, I make money, okay? But the issue is when you have a margin and you take out massive amounts of margin, all of a sudden you get what's called margin calls, where either you're forced to sell shares or deposit more money. Well, remember I told you I quit my job? I didn't have any fresh money to put in my accounts. I didn't have any money. Where am I going to get money from? I had no income sources. So all of a sudden I start getting margin calls because sometimes shares wouldn't go the way I wanted to go. By the way, another part is when I started the margin account, I was like, I'll just do like a 25% margin. And then all of a sudden I would get up to 50%. And all of a sudden the greed started to come in, and I might make $10,000 in a day. And I'm like, let me do 75% more money in here. And then all of a sudden I got to a point where I was literally going dollar for dollar, okay? Meaning I had no room for the shares to go down at all. And guess what happened? Sometimes those shares went down in the short term. I'm not a short-term trader. And this made me start to have margin calls, sell shares at bad prices that I didn't want to even sell the shares, but I was forced to because the brokerage would force me. It's either you deposit your money or you sell your shares. So I would sell, and all of a sudden, guess what happened? My accounts, they would start to go down and down, okay? Down and down. Now, and then what ended up happening is a really bad thing. When you start to lose more and more money and your accounts start to go down and down and down, and you're taking out margin, all of a sudden you feel like, I need to be a hero now. Now I need to make even bigger gains to try to get my money back up, right? And you start chasing your bets. It's what is, if you're an addicted gambler, it's what they call chasing your bets, okay? When you chase your bets, basically it means let's say you made a sports bet, okay, on the baseball game. You lose that bet, all of a sudden you're like, damn it, I just lost $20 in that. Let me try to bet $40 in this next game so I can make my money back. All of a sudden you start trying to go bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's what happened with me with the margin. I was just trying to go bigger and bigger, and I got into riskier and riskier companies and started doing more and more short-term activity to try to get those accounts back up. But the problem was, it wasn't working out. What ended up happening is my accounts kept going lower and lower. I'm not a trader. I'm not a short-term trader. I was trying to do things I had never done in my life and that I'm completely unsuccessful at, okay? I went from being someone that was extremely disciplined, okay, invested in companies for the long term. When they dipped, I would buy more shares. I would never invest on debt, which, by the way, when you take out this debt, you have to pay interest on it, okay? We're talking on my interest rates. I had a pretty big account, so I would think I had to pay like 5%, which isn't that much in the margin account land, right? Because I had a bigger account. But still think about that. You would have to get at least 5% a year just to pay back the margin. So you need to get these, unbelievable returns to get up to that point. Well, when you're losing more and more money and your accounts keep going down and down, you keep trying to do all these short-term activities, and it's like digging yourself in a bigger and bigger and bigger grave. And that's exactly what I was doing. And the next thing you know, when it was all said and done, when 2015 was think in October, it's either September of October, I think it was September of 2015. So mind you, I lost all that money and it wasn't even throughout the full year, okay? This was at September 2015, I believe it was. I sold off everything as far as my margin account went, what I have left in there. I sold off everything in my wife's except for her retirement account. I put her entire, which this was a crazy idea too, put her entire retirement account into Wynn Resorts. That obviously paid out in a huge way, but that I still would never, ever recommend that to anybody, that you put an entire retirement account into one stock. But basically, we sold off all the stocks, so we lose $100,000 in an 8-9 month span. And from there, what I ended up having to do is I was like, I'm either gonna have to get a job or start a business. And so I started my real estate marketing company. I got that going, got that off the ground, and it was a crazy time. And I would call the worst financial time of my life was in January 2016, okay? So literally 2 years ago today, I was in the worst financial situation I'd ever been in as an adult. We had no income because I was just getting my real estate marketing company. Like, I got the idea to start in September 15. I bought the equipment, but I didn't have any customers. It took me at least a few months to start getting customers. And I just remember January 2016 being the worst time financially in my life ever. And it's crazy how it all went down. And it's crazy that in that January 2016, I start the financial education channel. It's crazy. Like, sometimes the worst situations you could ever put yourself in, which I did, I put myself in an absolute disaster of a situation. Sometimes the best thing ever could come out of that in the financial education channel, which is the best thing I ever did for myself ever in my life, as far as on a financial, you know, not just on like how good I feel on the inside nowadays, but like obviously financially, like I make dramatically more money. I mean, I probably make more money in a day now than I used to in a week at Quick Trip, and I did well for myself at Quick Trip. So the feeling I get on the inside for all these people I help out, which just teach them how to invest and also teach them the bad stuff to stay away from, okay? And stay away from the thought process, so you can kind of understand yourself when you're slipping into some of these things and you're starting to chase bets. You're starting to think greed. You're starting to margin out. You're starting to invest money that's not even yours, which I get a lot of people that say this type of stuff all the time, that say, hey, Jeremy, I'm thinking about, you know, taking out a reverse mortgage or something on my house to invest more money, or I'm thinking about trying to get my retirement money that I built in my company and invest myself. I say, man, that's really risky stuff, guys, and especially when you're doing debt and you're investing and you're trying to do short-term in nature things, which those are really short-term in nature. Those are highly, highly risky. You don't want to make that mistake I made in 2015, because it's not always going to work out. It might not work out for you. Like, it all ended up working out for me. Okay, it all ended up working out in the end, but that doesn't mean it could have ended really badly. It could have ended up like, you know, I go work at a job, you know, job making 50, 60K a year, like I was gonna at Quick Trip, right? And that's my life, and it takes me years and years to build back my accounts to what they were. Like, it doesn't always work out the way you wanted it to or whatnot. It happened to work out for me. That doesn't mean it would work out for you. So don't ever think like, oh, I could take this risk, it'll just work out and I'll just make all this money in the future. It doesn't always work out that way, guys. So you know, it's one of those stories I have to share it. I have to share it. It's important. It's an important part of my story, I feel like. It's just as important as all this success, as everything that's come to me over time. It's just as important a story to me, because you know, it tests your character. When you lose that kind of money, when you make those kind of mistakes, when you go against everything you built and everything you believe in, you know, it tests you as a person and how you treat others during that time, and, you know, what your mindset is and things like that, guys. So don't ever make those kind of mistakes like I made. Just stay away from margin accounts. If you're going to quit your job, like, make sure you got at least some other income sources in there that are going to help you out. Like, you know, quitting your job and having no income, it's a highly risky thing. Make sure you got something going on the side or whatnot for at least some income. And, you know, don't panic when you think, oh, I can't get to this amount of money in such amount of time, because that's just going to put short-term pressure on you, make you make short-term decisions. If you make a bad decision and you make a bad mistake, right, in the markets when investing, like, don't think I just need to chase my bets and try to make that money back as quickly as possible, because that could end up, you might end up actually losing more and more money if you do that, guys. So anyways, hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching and have a great day.